people are constantly raising the bar.
Sacrifices need to be made.
What would you guys say are your biggest weaknesses?
You are your enemy right now.
Is success a lie?
Just a fucking podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to Student Side Hustle. This week I am speaking to Seth Groom from NYKRA. He is a game developer and artist from Auckland, New Zealand. So, Seth, how did you get into this and how did this all start?
Well, when I was really young, I've always loved games. My dad is a hardware programmer, and it sort of came to me pretty quickly because one day I remember asking my dad, I wanted to play a particular game, and he was like, "Why don't you just make one?" And I was like, "What? That's not possible. You can't do that." And it was. And so, long story short, here I am, about 9 years later of learning software programming, and now I'm creating my dream game. So yeah.
And how do you go about financing this? Because it's I guess it's freelance, and it's for most people, I don't know if it's a thing where you go and you get investments, or you get you just sort of do stuff on the side to fund it. But it's for a lot of people, it's quite a scary thing to do. I would say it's because it's not every person you meet on the street is a game designer. It's when you're a kid, you get all those kids who play video games and say they'd love to design games, but not many of them actually end up doing it. But you ended up doing it.
Right. Well, I guess it's sort of, it depends on if I'm talking generalization, it depends on what position the person is in.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful that my parents have been able to support me.
Yeah.
Until I finish this game.
Yeah.
So at the moment I'm living with my parents. Yeah. But there were a few moments, for example, I did a Kickstarter 2 years now. Wow, that time has flown by. And that was successful, and I managed to put together a campaign all by myself, and managed to raise 35 grand, which went towards I mean, the thing is though, I could say that and I could throw out numbers, but Kickstarter takes a large cut of that, and it's you don't get much in the end.
Yeah.
But so that went towards a lot of a new computer and t-shirts and promotional stuff.
Yeah.
And then just everyday costs, because even things like petrol costs does add up after a year time, and it's just So I left my job March 2017. Yeah. And my part-time job, which definitely,
how did you know, when to take that leap? Because that's a scary leap to take, because you're going from terrifying stability to were you already sort of one foot in the pool of freelance, or were you just gonna dive straight in?
It was kind of random, because sometimes I'd tweet out and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, does anyone want any commission work?"
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do art or design or something for them.
Yeah.
And that was good, and that did support me for the random things that I had to pay for every month or whatever. But it I don't know. It was a leap, because I knew that it needed to be done, because I wasn't able to put all my time and effort into the game while I was at work, because even though it was part-time, even if it was once or twice a week, I would end up being completely drained at the end of the day, because I worked at a supermarket, and it was for the whole day. And so I just knew that, well, the next step would be to quit.
Yeah.
And also, funnily, there's a second part to it though, because that same sort of time that I quit was when James and I, my friend James, that is, when him and I went to Japan. I think he mentioned that in his podcast with you. And so that was the same time that him and I went to Japan, and that was, if I did go to Japan, my boss said that was beyond my annual leave. And so I was like, well, I'll just quit then.
Yeah, because I feel
I mean, it wasn't quite like that, but yeah.
Yeah, because I feel at that point, you want to do game design, and you want to go to Japan, so it's fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
What about when it comes to because now, I don't know how far through the process of designing this game you are, but at the beginning, did you know exactly what you wanted the game to be, and did you have this grand vision, and you knew it was X with X and it had this kind of style and like all that kind of stuff, or is it sort of evolved along the way?
Oh, that's an interesting question. It, oh, yeah, I think it had definitely has. I mean, when I had the Kickstarter that I was, originally advertising to people the game, it was a bit more, the concept of it was a bit more convoluted. It was a bit more sort of like random. I didn't really know what the goal was of the game, but hey, but yeah, I guess yeah. Over the past few months, I've definitely concluded the actual story of it because it was originally this sort of like an experiment. But yes, I guess it has sort of changed a lot, which is good because I think it's better to finally have a complete like, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and do this, rather than going, okay, I've got the start of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. let's show people this. Let's have a Kickstarter. But yeah, I mean, yeah, no, yeah, it's definitely changed. It's definitely changed for the better.
Did you say you've been at making this game for 2 years now, or like around there? Or like
so,
the Kickstarter and the ideas and like all the planning and stuff.
Yeah. So this final version, this final prototype. Well, I guess this wouldn't be a prototype anymore, but this final version, about 2-3 years, because I was developing it before the Kickstarter as well.
Yeah.
But the idea of NYKRA, the game, the idea of it, I've actually had for almost 7 years.
Yeah.
Which because
has it always like been like such a solid thing in your mind? Because that's a fucking long time. Like
it's a very long time. I try not to think about it too much because and I've got proof as well because in my high school books, like my year 11, year 12, the back of my English book would be sketches of these like random aliens or random languages and stuff. I tend to go, oh, okay, yeah, I'm really happy and I'm really proud of myself that I'm able to do that, to get from that to where I am now.
Yeah.
But there was so many steps and so much like turmoil and so much like I don't know what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah.
Even at the end of high school where you've got the career advisor going, hey, you gotta do this, and are you gonna go to high school? Sorry, are you gonna go to university or not?
Yeah.
And I'm going, I don't know.
Yeah.
And and there's also the layer of telling my parents that I'm not going to go to university.
Yeah.
And instead I want to pursue this game.
So did you do any like was there any sort of like a course involved in this, or was it all self-taught and like just learn through trial and error?
That's a lot of people, especially professional game developers, have done like a qualification of some sort, or gone to university or something, or been taught by someone, or was in a team, or like an internship, right?
Yeah.
But no, I'm completely self-taught, which has its pros and cons, a lot of cons actually.
Yeah.
But so like for example, I use a particular program that has a game development language that's like very specific with making games, and sort of makes it easier. Yeah. And with the community that uses the same program as I do, I'd sometimes show them a bit of my code, say, hey guys, I need a bit of help, whatever. And they're like, what is your code? Like, it looks horrible. And I'm just going, I sort of have to explain.
Like, learning how everyone else is being taught to do it.
How to properly do it. Yeah. So it's sort of like I don't know what a good
of like bootlegging it and just sort of making it work. But like it works probably just as well, but it's harder for people to read. Like it's like you're writing it and it reads it. I'm trying to explain.
It'd be like writing an essay with absolutely no punctuation or absolutely no structure at all, but you'd still be able to follow it.
Yeah.
That's basically how it is. But I mean, how I see it is the game it's working. It's not like there are any major problems with the game, gameplay wise. So in my books, it's fine.
I feel like. Wait, so how do you? Because I know with like other games, like I've always been like a huge gamer, but like I've never even thought about making games. And I've like whenever you hear them like the bug team and like they go and like fix all the bugs. Yeah. Like how do you go about fixing bugs in a game and like figuring out where the issues are and like. Because it's like, I feel like with coding, I don't know shit about it, but it's like, I feel like there's one little error that could fuck up like a bunch of things.
Oh yeah.
And that scares the shit
It's
out of
exactly
me.
like that. It is the worst fucking thing ever because like you, for example, you might have a bug that is really specific
Yeah,
to like what the player does.
yeah,
Maybe the player moves in a certain way, or
yeah.
you're pushing a box in a certain position and
Mm,
then it breaks.
mm,
Those sort of bugs are the worst because you
mm,
have absolutely no idea where it is in the code.
yeah.
And so I mean, thankfully, the program I'm using has this thing called I don't know what the correct term is, but it's sort of like flags points. And
Oh
so
yeah,
when it's running the code, the moment it reaches that point, it stops the game and tells you what variables are what. So,
yeah.
like for example, if I'm in the code and I'm typing all this stuff and I'm working with the interaction of the player in the box or
Mm,
whatever,
mm,
and I could put a little flag there and go, okay, when that happens, tell me, and then I'll fix it.
yeah,
But that's oversimplifying it because
yeah,
there are some points that there was this one bug when I released the demo. There was this one game-breaking bug
yeah,
that was a problem with when you save it and then you sort of reload it and everything will be all jumbled and stuff like that.
yeah,
And it like I woke up at 10 a.m.
yeah,
I got the email about it and I didn't go to bed until 4 a.m. That's
yeah.
how long it took. And even
Mm,
then, I wasn't satisfied because I had to hack together a fix, or else,
yeah,
it was programming is like the coolest thing because you can make shit, and it's
yeah,
like, whoa, this all works. But it's also the most
yeah.
painful thing ever because you're spending so long on this one thing and it still
Mm,
doesn't work. And you're like, I
mm.
just come on, please work.
I feel like it's such like a
But
complex thing for like for me to
oh,
try and even
it's
just like I can't even fathom how a like computer works. Like I can't even imagine to begin
I mean,
how it
I
works, and
mean,
it
even
just
I
seems
I don't
like
know.
it literally seems like
Yeah.
magic. And it's
Yeah, I
like,
mean, there are some things that I really don't like because as I said, my dad is a hardware programmer.
mm,
He talks sometimes he's mentioning this stuff to me because I'm like, oh, Dad, would you be able to help me with this? And he's
mm,
trying to like, okay, let me look at your code and blah blah. And he explains something that's more like on a deeper level for
yeah,
what I'm doing. Like he
yeah,
talks about how the computer is working rather than the game is working.
yeah,
And I'm going, I have no idea what you're talking about. Because like computers use binary like zeros and ones to
yeah,
to do everything, and
mm,
even though that seems insane, it really does. And so like he'd be explaining how you had this number and it's like 110010 and you're bit shifting it right to the four and blah blah blah, and I'm going, what? So yeah, there's so much stuff about a computer that is underneath making games that's
yeah,
so complicated
mm.
that most programs, even the professionals, just would have no idea because it's just
Just
so
because it's like,
complicated.
is it just sort of the kind of thing where it's like the individual who has wrote the code will possibly understand it, but then
Yeah.
people, if you look at it, like if I go and read it, say I pretend I understand code, I understand everything about it, and then I go and
Yeah.
look at it, would there be a chance that I still wouldn't be able to understand what's going on?
Yes.
Oh my god,
That's
that
pretty
sounds
much how it works.
infuriating.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
it's
there's
like,
even like because I'm in this game developer sort of group on Twitter, and we've got this
mm,
little group of people,
mm,
and there's literally jokes that run around like that. Like, they talk about, have you seen like the Saw movies and how you're stuck in a room and
yeah,
literally they said that you've got like the torture is you're sitting there with a computer with a big bug in it and it's someone else's code and you have to fix it. And that's the torture. Like it's insane, and I've had to deal with it once. But thankfully, since I'm solo,
yeah,
I only have to deal with my own code, so that's
yeah.
okay.
So then it's like you
But
can relatively think back and like think, okay, I did this, and then
yeah, yeah, because at least I've got like a flow in my mind, and I know
yeah,
what I was wanting to do,
yeah,
and so I can go, okay, I was wanting to do that. Let me just go back and see if I did that correctly. Oh, whoops, put an X instead of a Y. Let's change that. Oh, it works now. Cool. Like
yeah.
it's yeah, it's pretty simple in
Is
that
the
case.
fix
But there are
usually
times.
that kind of like simple fix?
Yeah, honestly, there are times when like I'd quickly test something. I go, okay, that doesn't look quite so right. I look back at it, and yeah, I might have mistyped a variable, or I put a plus instead of a minus,
Hmm.
or I didn't put brackets, or something like that, and then it works. Yeah, sometimes like that. But those sort of things have become sort of second nature when
Yeah.
you're testing the game because it just happens so frequently. But when I was talking about bugs, I'm talking about the ones where you're sitting there for hours and you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah,
Those
that's
are the
like
bad.
the infuriating fact. What about like?
Yep.
So, I've always been a huge gamer. Like I've played like a ridiculous amount of like RuneScape, League of Legends, etc. Like those kind of games. Does this enhance or like does this make you want to play games more or less? And like when it comes to like being productive while doing this, like do you find yourself like playing video games a lot, like as procrastination?
Or definitely as procrastination, yeah. Because I've got this project, I've got a deadline, and there are times when I'm feeling kind of burnt out because I'm trying to do a particular scene or whatever. And I do, might turn on the PS4 or I might open up Steam or something and just play something for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, who doesn't do that though? Like it's even if you got a massive assignment, there are times you're like, nah, fuck it. I just want to play, COD. I just want to play something to take my mind off for a moment.
If you just keep like ramming your head against the wall when you're completely burnt out, it's like not going to go through. And that's why, like, I literally this year I bought a PlayStation 4 as a quote investment to like because when I wanted to relax, I didn't know what to do because I like find watching TV boring. Sometimes YouTube's cool, but like I needed something, so I just got a PS4.
Oh no, I was much the same. I was much the same because I was like, I've never really been a console person. I mean, like our family only had an Xbox 360 for years, and then there was a point in the I think it was like mid last year, and I was like, no, I just want a PS4, and I like used my last scrapings of my money, and I just got a PS4, and I was like, no, this is worth it. And then I spent like because then I bought there was quite a few games because I'm really into things like Skyrim and Horizon Zero Dawn. It's sort of like really story based games.
Yeah.
Good games.
It is incredible, yeah.
Oh, the graphics. Oh man.
Yeah, and
it's
just like it's so. There's this guy on YouTube that I was watching talk about it, and he sort of explains why it's so good because, and this is another issue I'd like to talk about is, he was comparing it to in like quote AAA games and how they're like they're trying to just manipulate for money, all that kind of stuff, and then how people creating indie games sort of get suffocated, and then it's hard for games like Horizon Zero Dawn, which have like it has no microtransactions. There's nothing sort of impure about it that I can really see. Yeah. And then do you think that is a huge issue, or is that sort of just this YouTuber playing it up, or Yeah,
oh no, it's a massive problem because a big example was when what's it called? Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out. When that came out, there was a massive problem because everyone's complaining that to unlock the Jedis or to unlock all the Sith characters, you had to play for like, oh god, what was it? It was like freaking 40 hours or something like that.
Like fucking ridiculous.
Or you had to pay like $10. And in the indie community, we were just like, this is disgusting because why would you make a game that you want people to love this game? Why would you make it why would you make it hard to reach? Like what's the point of that? It's just a money scam. There is no you can't justify it at all. So you'll find that games
just ruins it.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll find that games like Horizon Zero Dawn, all these amazing big indie games. I mean, there are a lot of smaller indie games like mine and lots of other little pixel games, but I'm talking things like Horizon Zero Dawn. Those ones are the ones that we as indie developers look up to because they did it right. It's a full package. It's the whole thing. It's look at us. We have this great game, and we have DLC. Got an expansion pack. That's fine if you want to get it, but there's no microtransactions, which is perfect.
Yeah, and I feel like because it just takes away from like now I like when I'm thinking of buying a game, I have to look into it and say, okay, if I buy this game, do I need to buy 8 different DLCs to make it full game? And if it's multiplayer, are people going to have better weapons because they paid for them? Like,
oh god, that reminds me of Black Ops because I used to play a lot of Black Ops. Even with James, him and I used to play Black Ops Zombies and all these things like that, and good fun. But like the problem was that there's so many expansion packs and so many like microtransaction related things that even if we played more online or whatever, it would be completely overpowered by everyone else. And we're just like, well, this kind of isn't as fun.
Yeah, because it sort of just
So
ruins it. Because like
it does.
the
It
idea of
does.
video, like if you go on to, okay, let's take RuneScape pre microtransactions. Like it used to be purely about how good your character was. If say it was PvP, it's purely about how good your character was. You can't spend money to make your character better. It is like a huge time sink, but it's like if you put in the time, you get a better character. But then it just became this like buying thing.
Yeah,
Does this like
classic RuneScape is great.
Yeah, and it was just I feel like it was just perfect for its time. I mean, for me, it was highly, highly, highly addictive. Like I literally sunk like 200 days playing. Like fuck, it was crazy. It was just. It's literally like a non-trivial percentage of my life is spent playing RuneScape.
It's sort of like the golden days of like young teenagehood where you're just playing just RuneScape. You got homework to do, but no, I gotta get to level 50. I gotta get to like it's just I mean I didn't play it for that. I mean I played it for a while. But I think I got caught into some other because I'm a Nintendo guy. So like I played a lot of Pokemon and stuff when I was younger. But I definitely played RuneScape and it was great.
Yeah, it was just like so classic.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. And the graphics, oh man. But the thing is when they updated it to like the newer servers and stuff like that, they changed so much stuff about it that everyone just dropped off it. Well, most people dropped off it because it was just like, well, it's not the same anymore. But I remember reading something. Don't they still have RuneScape Classic? Like, isn't that a thing now?
They have
Classic.
It's like 2007. It's basically a port of that, but I don't want to fucking start again. I just couldn't do that. And 2, I'll get addicted. But 3, like they've changed a lot of things. They've added a bunch of new like old school that fit into old school, and like they've added completely new like places where you get all these overpowered weapons, and it's just like it's not the same anymore.
I thought it was the exact same. It was the exact same.
At first it was, but now it's like now I think that like there's people asking. So they've got the normal one EOC, and then they've got 2007, which is not 2000 how it was back then. But then there's people asking for actual 2007. And it's just this,
which they should do.
It's just this rip of 3 different communities, and it's just like completely obliterated the community. Like it used to be like the biggest game or some shit. Like it was huge. What about?
Yeah, well, it was enormous.
Yeah. What about when it comes to like being like inspired by a game, or like being inspired by say your trip to Japan or something like that? But then there's also the sort of tier between being inspired by something and being original. Like how do you sort of bridge that gap and try to not copy anything and not try to take too many elements from something else, but still see like an amazing game and be inspired by it? Right.
That's an interesting question. The thing is, I actually I'm a very cautious person with that sort of thing because I get heavily inspired by a lot of things. I'm a very sci-fi orientated guy, so things like the Interstellar movie, things like all these, even things like Star Wars and Star Trek that I love, like I still get inspired in small amounts with these things. Maybe the shape of the door, or like the way that some character looks, like these really small things that I want to sort of put into my game. But I mean, like there are some things that I do like about certain features of certain movies, and I do want to put them in the game, but I know that obviously it could be a little too obvious, so I'd want to change them slightly or make them more into the style of my game. So I do take time and go, okay, well, I like this, I'm gonna see if I can alter it slightly. Like there was this ship. There was this one. I can't remember what show I watched. I think it was just this random sci-fi show that I stumbled upon online. And there was this particular ship that had this really cool shape to it, where the bottom of it sort of sunk down, and it was really awesome. And I was like, oh man, like I really wanna recreate that. And I think this is a good example because I spent a long time sort of like outlining it, sort of figuring out the shapes, but then putting in my own sort of design aspects to it and sort of form it to what it is now. And that was like 4 years ago. And then I got it again recently because I've reached the point where it actually comes into the story of the game, where it appears in the atmosphere and stuff like this. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have another thought over it. And this, I think that's a important part of what I'm saying, is that sometimes when you have inspiration, you can sometimes just leave it. You don't have to use it just yet, but then you go, okay, I've got that, but then come back to it later on, and then you go, oh, I might add that, I might add this. So I made it from, it used to be just this sort of cargo ship. I turned it from that into a cargo ship, but it's got this massive sort of like wheel at the center of it that has a large amount, like it can actually, I guess you could say it's like a pickup truck that can orbit in space, and sort of descends like a rope down to the surface of the planet, and it can pick up stuff and take them into orbit. There's this like idea that I thought of, okay, and I'll incorporate that into the design. So it's a process, I think, is what I'm saying. Is that it's not just sort of like, oh, I like this, I'm gonna put that in, and some people are like that. And those are the ones that generally get called out, because you kind of can't just take people's ideas, obviously. So
like if you put a ship in your game and you call it the Millennium Smelkin, like, like, you know, and it's like,
people would go like, that sounds familiar.
It's like shit like that. But it's like,
even if it's like kind of the same shape, people are still going to be like, that looks like just a rip off the Millennium Falcon, or maybe the Starship Enterprise, or whatever it might be. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I tend to not take inspiration from big things.
More just like random things you see, and then you just think, okay, that would look amazing in this situation, but I think it would look different if I added this element or took away that element. Because I think definitely with my podcast, there's so many big podcasts where they interview people and they're talking about the exact same topics.
Right.
But like, from being an avid podcast listener, I found that there's issues I have with those as a listener. And now
you can use those to make yours better.
And I'm trying to incorporate the issues that I had with all these big podcasts and take the elements that I love about those podcasts. Like, for example, from Joe Rogan's, I love the way he just asks questions that aren't boring as shit, and he asks questions that actually like are actually interesting, not like, he doesn't just ask like dumb questions. And then like Gary V, he just has pure honesty, and he doesn't sort of put a blanket over his opinions. And then like Tim Ferriss, he just like all these things, and I just think like there's a lot of people who, even myself, like at times I've like caught myself midway like through making a YouTube video, and I'll be like, wait, I'm just copying X YouTuber, like blatantly like same exact topic, same exact style, and I just be like, wait a minute, like, and it's just sort of like
no, I've been there.
And then how do you use when you get into a creative block, and like, because it's like you're doing the exact same game for like multiple years. I'm sure you're going to come into a few creative blocks. How do you get out of them? Do you use inspiration, or just sort of let it sit for a bit, or how do you sort of get out of a creative block?
I've definitely had a lot of creative blocks. So I guess one way to do it that I've sort of managed to figure out myself is that if you've got something that like you're working on or whatever, and you're sitting there and you're like, this isn't working. Instead of dwelling on it, the moment you feel that, I just don't want to. What I do is I just get up from my seat. I just get up, I just go for a walk, or I go to the kitchen and just make a cup of tea. Right, just like something to change the way you're thinking, or maybe I don't know, maybe if you're wearing headphones all day and you're listening to music, maybe, and you're feeling that way, you just take them off and maybe go to the lounge and put some music on in the lounge instead. Like I found that if you change your environment, it can drastically change your whole entire mood, which in turn helps with creative blocks. But most of the time, especially for things for NYKRA, it's kind of hard though, because all the stuff that I have to put into the game has to be like I have to come up with it on the spot. Like there are certain scenes, especially because there's a lot of dialogue in the game, and all this dialogue has to come from somewhere. So there are times that I'm just sort of talking to myself, trying to think of the conversation that these two characters would have, and I'm just going, I can't be bothered typing this out, and then I might just open up YouTube and watch some random shit. But like, I guess when you do reach, or when I reach a creative block, it just sort of depends on how you're feeling, and you know, you could fix it with maybe you could turn on the PS4, or you could just make a tea, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel whenever because I've asked a few people that same question, and a lot of people seem to have different answers.
Yeah.
But it seems to all just be generally the same idea of just get yourself away from what you're doing and then come
and
back.
not just like ram at the problem and just try to fix it
Yeah,
with brute force. Yeah. What about
it can,
Yeah.
but yeah.
what about when it comes to like
I was gonna say,
because you said you do it, there's a lot of dialogue. I'd like to touch on
Yeah.
like what you've learned about storytelling, because
Oh, right.
you have to play the role of both characters in the conversation, and you have to just like, because
yeah,
a lot of the criticism that a lot of games get is like, oh, it's all about the gameplay and they don't put any emphasis on the storytelling. Like I think COD got a lot of that for a long time. Like
Yeah.
the campaign, everyone hated on the campaign, and then everyone's just there for the multiplayer. Like how do you get that balance of storytelling and gameplay, and then how do you like how much emphasis do you put on each aspect?
Well, interesting. I think for me, it's sort of just like I've got the story in my brain, and I've got some of it written down, and I just sort of make it how I see it. But
Yeah.
I do know that there are going to be players, even for the demo that came out, there are people that complained saying, there wasn't much gameplay or whatever. And this was an original conflict I had, because excuse me, I was thinking that I was like, oh, do I stop making this game? This is before the Kickstarter. I was like, do I actually make this a game, or should I go to university and study cinematography? I.e., should I make it a movie? Because it was literally at that point where I was like, there is so much dialogue in this game. It's borderline either a book or a movie.
Yeah.
There's no gameplay. So, and that was a major problem. In fact, that was a dark moment for me, because I was worried that my life's work was going to go down the drain.
Yeah.
And I got badly depressed. I was just like, this is not going well. And so I knew that I had to figure out something, I had to finalize something, or else nothing was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I need to think of how it's going to work out, and I came up with these like little puzzle ideas and these sort of bits that made it visually interesting, that could sort of compensate both the story and the gameplay. Because I found that with a game, there's actually, as I said, the third aspect, which is visually and audially enticing. So you could have something. So for example, there's a scene where, I wanted the main character Q, where she's running, just running across a plain field because she has to get somewhere, and you sort of just follow your instincts, and it was good. But I was like, okay, I need something to happen here, or else people are going to be like, I'm just running and this is going to be boring. And that thought right there sparked the whole idea of a ship coming into the orbit of the planet, which is that ship I described previously. And so it literally stops the camera, it stops all the music, and then suddenly you see it come into the background, and it just like appears from like light speed and just like shakes the whole camera. And it makes this really loud, like deep rumble noise. And then, Q, the main character, falls over. She's like, holy shit, well, what was that? And that there was one of those moments when I was like, oh, that's how you do it. As in, if you have a moment that you're worried that it's going to be boring as hell, make a ship fly into the atmosphere. Like it's you just and I think that was like an eye-opening moment when I was like, okay, so there is a balance, but you also got to have these like sprinkle of random, flash in your face bits that are really interesting or sound really cool. So there's another scene that's in chapter 2 where you're coming into the space station, because you eventually get on that ship and you go to a space station. And I was like, I was just going to make it so you just see a bit where the ship just lines up to the space station, and then that's it, and you get onto the space station. But I thought, oh, no, I'm gonna make it cinematic as all hell. I make it as cinematic as I can. And I spent, because I make all the music myself as well, and I spent like a day coming up with the perfect piano chords to play on this like really dramatic build of sound as the ship comes into the scene. And it just builds and it builds and it builds, and then it arrives at the space station, and when I put that together and I put all the graphics in and all the effects, and then I put the music in, I was like, wow, yes, that's what I want. Good. And I think unfortunately, because it's difficult as a solo developer, there are a lot of times when I'm like, I just don't know if this looks good or not. Because I don't have someone sitting over across the room going, "Oh yeah, Seth, that's good," or "Oh yeah, Seth, no, that's shit." I sort of have to be my own voice in my head, if that makes any sense.
How do you go about doing that? Because that's like that's fucking like, because if you're the only person looking at this thing, and no one else, no one, like, I guess you had the demo, and I'm sure you got feedback from that. How do you go about figuring out when something needs to change?
Well, that's actually a really difficult question to answer because I don't really know. It's sort of like if I'm doing something. Actually, hold on. I'll change what I'm saying. Taika Waititi actually explained this quite well when he was talking about Thor Ragnarok. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Oh, great movie. And he was saying that when he was directing it and thinking on writing and sort of forming the scenes and stuff, he said if I'm reading this and I get bored, I change the scene. And I was like, that's such a simple concept, but that makes total sense. If you have, as the writer, it doesn't matter who you are or even if you've written it yourself, if you feel that slight tingle of boredom, change the scene, change it completely. And that's why in Thor Ragnarok it goes like through 5 different planets and shit like that. And it's brilliant. And so I was like, oh, okay, right. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of these times when I'm building something or putting something in the game, I'm like, I have no idea, or like, for example, there's a train scene, and I've been working on this train scene for like freaking weeks. Yeah. And it's like, and it's been like the 60th time that I've tested it, and I'm just going, this is so boring, as in playing it is so boring, and it just looks terrible. Yeah. But then when I was like, okay, hold on, I'm just gonna like take a little video of it and give it to one of my game dev friends and see what he said. And he was like, dude, this is amazing. Good job, man. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like you end up becoming your own devil because you're constantly working on the same thing with a screen in your face and you have no idea. So yeah, it's a difficult hurdle to get over, but I think there are times that help it, but I don't.
Yeah, I can definitely like relate because, like, say if I'm listening to a podcast and then I have to listen to every one of these and edit them and shit like that. So like when I'm listening, if I am listening, I'm usually doing something else. Like I'm just doing a very, very easy menial task. Yeah. If I'm listening and I like get out my phone and I'm not listening, then I know I need to cut that bit or do something to it to make it not as boring, because it's like. And if I'm rewatching a video I've made, if I pull out my phone while editing it, I know that I need to change it, because it's like. But
that's actually a good point.
Yeah, because that's the thing for me. It's like addicted to my phone. I always just like check it like all the time. But like, especially while I'm like doing shit, it's like, yeah. And then one thing that I'd like to touch on is, because you said you're like always there working on the screen, and that is quite a like common problem, like physically, because. For me, there's this thing called anterior pelvic tilt. When you're sitting down heaps, your hip flexors get tight and your glutes get weak, and then it increases back pain. There's all this shit about it. And for me, I don't know if you know, but I have scoliosis, so I have I
read about that.
Yeah, I have a spinal fusion from T3 to L2, so it's like all steel there. And essentially for me, a big thing is not sitting too long and mixing it up by doing things like going for a walk, or if I actually need to just sit down and study, then I'll go and like use my standing desk, and that's like pretty much the only other thing that I can do. Right. Do you have any things that you do to sort of combat the long periods of sitting, or any like things that you've done to combat any like back pain or anything that comes along with sitting for long hours?
Well, kind of. I don't know. There was a moment actually quite recently, I think it was last month. I had bad back pain. It was pretty terrible, the worst I had. And I was trying to find out like why, because I hadn't had back pain in so long. I was trying to figure out why, and because I've been trying to improve my posture, because I found that even though either sitting, some problems can also be resolved with posture as well, right? You could be slouching in the chair, and that's just like magnitudes times worse. So, and I was like, okay, why have I got a sore back? And I've realized that I didn't work on my game for a week, I
Yeah.
think there was like something I did, and basically I didn't touch the computer week. I had like a break,
Yeah.
and then when I went back onto the computer, and then I had this back pain. I realized that your body gets so used to doing something, and so if I'm sitting in this chair right now in front of this computer
Yeah.
every single day for like 12 hours straight or whatever, then your body is either going to get used to it and then sore when you're walking,
Yeah.
or the opposite. And so I was like, okay, so there is a balance. There's okay, I need to fix this.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I guess when it comes to that, I don't know. I sort of like if I'm starting to feel kind of like a bit of a tightness or somewhere, I do tend to just stand up. I don't have a standing desk.
Yeah.
I really want one.
Mine is just
because I have-
literally two like I guess like one's like a bunch of drawers and then chests. It's like a chest and a drawers stacked on top of
Right.
each other, and I just use that because
Yeah.
like the real ones cost like $1,000. Like they're
they're so
it's
expensive,
fucking
especially
crazy.
motorized ones.
Yeah, it's like literally they're insanely expensive. Like I can't understand how they're that expensive, but I'm assuming the price will drop because like they're everywhere now. Everyone's using them, and I feel like
everyone's using them.
yeah, and they're so good.
Yeah, I have heard that a lot of people do tend to just get two desks, put them on top of each other, and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's hard to switch.
I mean, I do want to get around to that, and I'm gonna be hopefully, April. I think it is April. I'm gonna be moving out.
Yeah.
Thankfully. So out of my parents' house, they have like a rental place that the tenants are gonna be moving out of, and hopefully I'm gonna be moving into that as like house sitting, but also living there.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping when I'm there, I can buy or organize getting two desks and doing exactly that, because I want to see how well it changes because I've actually heard that if having a standing desk also changes your mentality as well.
Yeah.
Like it changes the way that you function in your thinking. And also apparently because sometimes if you're especially like myself, you're not used to standing a lot.
Yeah.
Just suddenly going from sitting to a standing desk, you get tired pretty quick, which then means that you have to, which is good because it means you can take time away from the computer and relax.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that sounds like a really good solution. So I'm gonna try to do that. But for where I am now in my seat, I don't really have a solution.
Yeah,
I just pray that I'll get
hard
back to back pain.
just like make one because it's like I'm not very DIY. Like I don't make shit
neither.
like that. But like I would love to make one, but like the one I've got now works relatively well, and like I think it works for what it needs to work for. Do you do any like sort of exercise or like things or habits that keep you from like? Because I guess it can be very like, because if you're the only one working on this and it's only going to get done if you get it done, and then essentially the idea is there's always going to be work to do, and there's never going to be a point in the day when you're like, oh, I finished all my tasks, there's nothing more I could do today. Okay, sit back, relax, because it's like you've got a game to make, and it's like there's a lot of shit to do. Like,
there's never a point where I'm just like, oh yeah, I finished all the things, because it's never like that.
Yeah. And then how do you like, with that sort of feeling, how do you know when to find the balance and when to like just chill out? Because for me, it's like I'll always have something I could possibly be doing. I could be pitching guests, editing podcasts, recording podcasts, making videos. Like there's always something to do. How do you find that?
Well, same to me, I guess. I've always got I've literally got 5 pieces of paper next to me now with just these lists of all these things to do. So I don't know. Like, there's always stuff for me to do, and I could always maybe like procrastinate doing something else. But I guess I don't know. It's sort of like a gut feeling, I think, at times, where I'm just sort of sitting here and I'm going, you know what, I'm really not feeling this particular bit. I'm just gonna stand up and do something else. I don't know. But most times I know that if I don't focus and just sit down and crunch, especially if I hadn't done much that day. Because then the guilt starts to come in. And then I look at my timeline. I'm like a week behind schedule. I'm like, shit. And so I know that if I do because I feel like sometimes it's a mentality thing where if you feel like, oh, I don't want to do this,
Yeah.
then you're going to eventually give up at some point during the day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting thought.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess I've
like
never
a,
really thought about it.
yeah. If you were going to recommend resources or places for people who love video games and want to get into game design in some shape or form, is there any like resources or YouTubers or podcasts or any sort of thing like that where you'd recommend they go and look into it?
Um, Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that because I'm completely self-taught.
Yeah.
But I do know that New Zealand has a really good curriculum in terms of game dev.
Yeah.
And so even the one at University of Canterbury or Wellington, Victoria, they do really
Yeah.
good ones.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it, when it comes to especially independent games, I mean, if you want to be professional, it's a slightly different story. But if you want to be an indie dev, it's really just down to passion. Like that is it. Because if you like, you could say, "Oh, I want to make a game," but you could say that, but it's if you feel it. If you're like, I need to make a game, like I've got to do this, or I will not feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
Like how I've been feeling for the past few years. If I don't make this game, I will feel empty because it needs to be out there. So for me, there's a lot of motivation involved to get this done, and I feel like if there are people who wanted to make games, they would probably already be doing it.
Yeah.
But for the people who just might not have been brought up in a household that is very tech savvy, or like it's got so many variables involved. Then I would recommend looking into like pixel art tools. There's so many free pixel art tools out there. There's I think there's one called Graphic Scale that's really good. I mean, even Microsoft Paint, that's fine. There's so many tutorials on YouTube for things like Unity. So there's a programming language that's built into a program called Unity. There's the one I use called GMS. And there's a few other ones. They're a little more complicated, a bit harder to set up. But even if you type into YouTube how to make games for beginners, it honestly, the list, it's huge. You just flick through them. I mean, from an outside point of view, it may seem hard because you're going, like, how could you go from nothing to making a commercial game? And it takes a lot of work, like so much work. I'm starting to feel the heat now, where I've got to get this done in a certain time frame, or else I'm screwed. And so that's why I recommend, if you're going to be making a game, instead of going, okay, I want to make a commercial game, there's a thing called game jams that they happen all the time. There's this big one that happens worldwide called Ludum Dare, and it's literally they announce a theme, and they go, it's like a completely random theme. It could be like minimalism, or it could be blocks, or open world, or something random. And you have to make a game in 48 hours.
Oh my god.
And so it may seem like, what? Like, how could you make a game in 40 hours? Well, this is the thing, because you cut the scope down all the way down till it's just this tiny little game. And you'd be surprised the amount of like pure gold that's made in these game jams. Some people like, the geniuses behind some of these games is amazing. So there was one recently, the official Ludum Dare, the 40th Ludum Dare, and I've been doing Ludum Dares for like 5 years, and there've been some good ones. I mean, the highest I was placed previously was like 9th for mood, because there's like categories. There's like mood, audio, graphics. And recently I came 2nd overall. Which is a big deal. I mean, I was quite surprised. I made this little game. I think it's on my YouTube channel of me talking about it. There's this little game called Borrowed Time, and it was because the theme was the more there is, the harder it gets. And you're thinking, okay, so my game idea that I thought of was, well, you have this clock, and the more time you give yourself, the more enemies there are. And so people seem to really like that, to a point where I came 2nd overall. So I was like, okay, cool. But so, and I made that for everything, the graphics, the audio, the design, everything in 48 hours. And
do you, when you're doing that, like, do you take the strategy of minimizing sleep, or like, how do you,
not much sleep is involved.
do you like literally, because
it's
For my
pretty
approach,
much just solid crunch. Yeah.
like literally, do you like sleep at all? Like, would over that 48-hour hour period, would you take like maybe one sleep break after 24 hours of work, or like just caffeine hard, or like
I have heard of some people who literally had no sleep in the 48 hours, and
yeah,
half of the people actually don't end up finishing.
yeah,
So it's actually highly recommended that you do get sleep.
yeah,
So I at that time I gave myself 5 hours sleep.
yeah?
So at the
Throughout
end
the
of the
whole
day, I mean, I
thing.
was yeah for the whole entire thing. So it was, I mean, it was crunch. It was crunch time. It was, you gotta head down, just code,
Yeah.
code, code, art, just
Yeah,
solid. And when you get into it, oh man, the adrenaline kicks in. Like
yeah,
especially when the 10-hour
yeah,
mark hits, and you're like, holy shit, like this is insane. And
yeah,
you're like testing every 5 seconds,
yeah.
and so I streamed mine the whole
Oh my
entire 48
god.
hours. I streamed it as
Yeah.
well. There's actually
Holy shit.
someone. So I think someone took a video of the whole entire stream. But yeah, so I streamed myself making the whole game,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean there were times when like especially at the start, and I was just like jumping out of my chair. I was like, yeah, like this is great. I'm doing it. And I was like, yeah, because someone gave me like an idea, and I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is awesome. And then near the end, I'm like, oh my god, I'm dead, guys. Like holy shit, my
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are times when you're trying to do something and you have no sleep, you're high on caffeine, but your eyes aren't open,
Yeah.
but you're still coding, and you're like,
Yeah.
ah.
And you're just like grinding it out
Yep,
against like
yep.
all odds.
You gotta do it hard though, because
Yeah.
if you don't, then you don't do so well in the
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy that it paid off itself, because
Yeah.
boy, that was insane.
I feel like it's definitely
But
going to be
I'm
like
just proud.
a major like intense experience, even just to like do it, like
Oh, it's great.
to create something as high quality as you can in 48 hours.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't really know why I pushed myself that hard. I mean, it got to a point when I went through 3 Red Bull cans in like 12 hours,
Oh, fuck.
and I was shaking. I was like, hell yeah. I don't know. It was good though, because I think when it comes to these sort of times, especially because I was like in the middle of that was like November, December, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was in the crunch of making NYKRA at the time,
Yeah.
and I was like, I just want to do something different. And so it was good to get into that completely different mentality. Instead of going, I've got this large list of things to do, it was like code, 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 screaming at the camera, like, come on, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And it was fun rather than a task. It was rather than like a chore.
And it was sort of just like this
yeah.
48-hour marathon of work.
Oh,
Just trying
it
to
was yeah.
hustle it
There-
out and just pure
there
creativity.
was some like live streams when it was happening. There's literally live streams of because you can do it by yourself, right? There's a compo, which is by yourself, or jam, which is if you're with 2 or more people, and you're given an extra 24 hours. And so because I did the combo one, by myself, but there are people. There's like I think it was in some big like arena got booked out in America, right? And you could literally watch these teams of people in this arena making these games, and it was insane. And it's all live streamed. It's this massive event.
What the
and
fuck?
it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And the games that come out, my god, like there was one, especially the jam ones with the 2 or more people, because they have like one person who's just doing the art, one person's just doing the music and the code and things like that.
Yeah.
And the games that come out are so high quality that you're just like, how the fuck did you make that?
Yeah. And it's just like phenomenal work. But I guess
Yeah.
it's just like,
Honestly.
if you're having all these people trying to get the most creative, high quality
Yeah.
idea,
When you're-
something's surely like,
Yeah.
do you think
When you're given a deadline like that, the pressure is insane, and your body just goes to overclock mode, and you just it's such a cool feeling. But I mean, I couldn't touch the computer for like a few days after it.
yeah. For me, like, the only way I can relate to that is this year for last year for exams. Basically, I knew I was behind as hell. So basically, my plan was, it was like, well, the first week it was mainly really, really hard. And like, I basically cut off all friends, didn't talk to anyone, cut off so many aspects of my life, like ate just the minimum, like shit all, and just went, every day was literally 100% study. Nothing else was booked. Usually I'm like gymming every single day.
Yeah.
But I literally got one gym session in if that, and I just, like, I'm proud of the results, but like, fuck, it was fun though, because it made studying fun, because it felt like, I felt like I was in a race against time.
Yeah,
I feel
it's like a challenge.
Good. Like, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's like, if you know you can perform at a high level for like 2 weeks, and just like go complete to burnout, and just like keep yourself just on the line of burning out hard, I might recommend it, but like,
it's interesting feeling. It is an interesting feeling, because you're going, oh shit, I can do that. Wow. Yeah. Okay. But then like normal days, you're like, nah, fuck this, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But then when you get into that mentality and you got that challenge ahead of you and you got that deadline, and you're like, yes, I'm gonna do this, and then and it feels good at the end. It does, as I'm sure you're aware, and it's
like,
cool.
At the end, you're like, oh, fucking done. Wow.
Yeah.
Like,
oh man.
Jesus.
When I know. Oh god. When you upload, especially for Ludum Dare, when the moment you click upload, you're hit with like both anxiety, because it could be broken. You have no idea.
Yeah.
And as well as like, thank fuck that it's done, because I don't want to see it again.
Yeah. Like, even if it's broken, you're like, cool.
Yeah. I mean, and it was, unfortunately, my game was broken. There was a control problem, and I was like, oh shit, okay, fine. I have to open up, GMS2 again. I was like, change it, re-upload. Okay, fine. Close the computer, walk away, go to the middle of town, and just fucking have a coffee in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, but as I was saying, it's cool that we as humans can actually do that and put ourselves in these moments where like, no, we're gonna get this done.
Yeah, it's pure crunch time.
Yeah. No, it's good though.
I'd like to finish off with this, because I think I don't want to go for too long. But so
yeah, all good.
What would be your main advice to someone in high school or in university who doesn't know what they want to do? Like, for me, the role that university plays for me is, I know it's going to play some role, and I know I am going to enjoy it. But I know for a lot of kids, there's this issue with either not knowing what they want to do or doing shit they don't actually like. And I think I've been debating this whole topic, is like, basically the topic is not knowing what they want to do because they've never been forced to do something hard. And then that sort of leads to, the thing that I'm scared of is a lot of kids and, like, I guess millennials ending up incredibly sad at the end of their lives because they've never done anything fulfilling to themselves. And like, it's incredibly hard question to answer. So like I'm just making a video about sort of the actual issue, and I don't know if I'm going to try and make a solution, because it's I don't think it's something you can solve like that. But what advice would you have to someone looking for their passion and the thing that they actually really enjoy?
I have to think about that one for a second. I think it's I think the only way I can really answer it is by sort of comparing to what I've been through, because I think I was in that situation completely, where you have your parents and you have your teachers, talking down your throat saying, do this, do that, go to university. And so even my youngest sister, who is in year 13 now, she was originally wanting to do something in particular, and then she had the careers advisor tell her, or some I don't know who it was, tell her that job probably isn't going to be very good. And it's like, you have these people telling you don't do it or do this, like both sides. It's so annoying. It's so frustrating. I think it's I think you really got to focus on what you want. Like, really sit there and go, okay, what do I enjoy? What are my hobbies? What are these things that I take pleasure in life? Even if I don't know how to do them, what do I like? So, for example, I've never been taught how to play the piano. I've never been a musician. But I'm so obsessed with music, especially electronica, that I'm just like, I want to know how to do this. And so, literally in the end of year 13, that's when I started just playing around with random synths and trying to learn how to make music. What I'm trying to say is, like, even if you don't know how to do something, it doesn't mean it's not possible. So if you feel like you have no idea what you want to do, and maybe you just want to save up some dollars, maybe you go travel or whatever, just have a gap year. Like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, all Gen X and all our parents and everyone's telling, oh, don't have a gap year, that's bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, actually, I had 2 gap years and I'm still on my gap year.
Yeah.
Like, it's still, it doesn't really matter as long as you are contributing to society in some way.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's in the future, let's say you're making something, if it's a game, it's a music
Yeah.
or a book or something, as long as you have something, then it's generally okay. And
Yeah.
even if you don't have something, like a few of my friends, they're happier than me, and all they've got is a job and a place to live and lots of friends. And like that,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be complicated.
Yeah.
So I reckon my final word on that would be like, just do what makes you happy. Try not to let people tell you what to do quite so much, and just do it. Just whatever, chill.
Yeah.
And things generally fall into place.
Damn
So,
right,
yeah.
because it's like my biggest fear is like getting to the end of life and being unfulfilled.
Right.
Because it's scary. Like,
It is.
we're all
It is
like
really scary.
we're all young, trying to figure out what the fuck we want to do,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
people have all these people saying do these jobs and do X and do
Yeah.
Y. Like, this podcast is about studying, because I do think like the whole like idea where I'm trying to take this podcast is, I want people to if they're doing university, do university, and do
Yeah.
the thing that you like. Don't do a degree that you hate,
Yeah.
but also supplement that with some sort of side hustle and do something else, and don't just be a student and figure out like, because then you might get to the end of uni and realize, okay, I love doing this side hustle and this is what I really want to do. And
Yeah,
that's the thing.
exactly.
Like, that's sort of my philosophy for this. But
Because
yeah.
I was gonna say, well, there's I guess that's the thing, because I was talking to one of my friends who originally wasn't sure about doing accounting.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I don't want to do it, but I don't even know why I'm doing it. My parents told me to, and now he loves it.
Yeah.
So I think there are the odd cases where you sort of do have to just throw yourself in the deep end and just be like, fuck it, okay, let's try this.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, fine,
Yeah.
try something else.
Damn
Like,
right, because like for me with my degree, I had no fucking clue what podiatry was. Now now I'm just like passionate as fuck about it. Now it's
Yeah.
like I cannot imagine doing any other degree. I knew
Yeah.
that I wanted to do something in health, and I thought I wanted to do physiotherapy, but then I looked into it and it wasn't something I wanted to do. I could see possibly I'd enjoy it, but I think podiatry ended up being the thing that I really wanted to do. And the only way I found that out was I just looked at all the choices that I had. I picked a general degree in health first semester, and then I applied for all these ones, and I got a few applications, few yeses, few nos, and then I just looked at them and evaluated them and thought about what my life has been about and what I want to do, and then I just went into those.
Chose from there. Yeah. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be this massive task. It shouldn't be like this migraine. It should just be like, okay, this sounds cool, or this sounds interesting. Let's try it.
And I feel like you can afford to waste a semester trying something out. Like most semesters are going to be very, very general, and a lot of them do get more specific. But it's like, I feel like you can afford to waste 6 months, whatever, trying it out. And like,
definitely,
yes, debt will accumulate, but like,
yes, there's always that.
That's the thing. But like, if you look into it and you realize you actually love it, then I think it doesn't matter. And it's like, unless you're going to be really, really, really crippled by debt, then I just say like, fuck it, do it. Like,
yeah, some of my friends' student loans are insane. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a lot of money.
and you're just like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
So where can people find you online? Where can they look up more information about your game? And where are the general places people can find you on social media?
Well, I'm on Twitter. That is twitter.com/Endesga, ENDSGA. That's kind of really where I base most of my content and stuff. I post a lot of GIFs really frequently and things like that. I do have a YouTube channel, same thing, ENDSGA. That has some older trailers if you want to watch a bit of like what the game's about. There's some really old trailers on there. I did have some gameplay videos, but I sort of took those down because I wanted to be specifically NYKRA. And that's basically it, really. Like, Twitter is really my central hub. So if you guys have got Twitter, give me a follow, and I post some pretty gnarly memes sometimes as well. So
thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Student Side Hustle. I would appreciate so much if you would leave a review if you'd like to hear more of what I'm saying. Then I would love if you would follow me on Instagram or check out my other social media, all linked in the show notes. And again, I would just like to say thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful evening and study hard.